Hi, everybody. Colin Stevenson here, joined by Jonathan Frace. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Colin, what's happening?
It's
I like
all
your
happening.
shirt. You look so much more rock and roll than I do.
I
Look at
decided to
that's a
not wear
cool.
a
You
hat
look
for a
cool,
change.
man. What's that?
I decided not to wear a hat for a change and show that I have actually got hair.
Oh, I like the plunging neckline. That is
But
sweet.
it was because of this huge chest that I've got that was just not allowing it to close.
Huge Scottish chest. Can't even get it to close at all.
Oh, Jesus.
I just
So,
gonna
yes,
start every video with a Scottish accent.
it has got to be done. So, no, in fact, we'll just leave it open for the
Yeah,
crowd.
leave it open. It looks awesome. I think you look
We'll
great.
just leave it open. Let's hang out. So,
Yeah.
tonight, you and I are going to talk about something different because when we were going through things to talk about, this kind of came up. And the reason that I think we should both talk about it is because with the work that we do, we're out trying to help as many people as possible on as large a scale as possible while still keeping it bespoke to them. But there are some subjects that we can speak about that don't always necessarily come up in normal conversation. And me can fully admit that I'm not 100% normal in society, which is fine. It's great. And I wouldn't say you are as well. We're definitely different, which is good and unique. Um, so I would like to talk about codependent parenting.
Codependent parenting.
Codependent parenting because I feel very passionate about it. I feel very passionate about children getting to be their unique self in their life, you know, and not having to live the life of the parent or the life the parent didn't receive. Because what we've found going through the generations, through studies and through just watching and living experience, what you usually find is that child will get is what the parent didn't. If that parent didn't get loved, they will give that child more love than what they need so that the parent feels better about them. And then the child becomes a needy adult as they come up because that's what they're used to getting and they think that is normal when it is not. Okay. Now, I know that there will be people wishing to probably poke me in the eye just now while I say things like that, although I do feel it has to be brought up and brought to attention um, in certain ways because I feel that we've got a duty to the kids, and so do the parents. Now, we understand that you and John work with Flowcess and you work with the only model that you have for the mind and brain in the whole entire world. Now, that to me means that there's not many people that can then maybe question that because they've not got their own model to be able to compare it, which I love. And I think it's great. And I love the way that you're able to break down and dissolve situations. So hopefully we can come to some sort of agreement or dissolve by the end of this half hour. And hopefully we can allow people to see both sides of the coin because it is a touchy subject. We're all learning. Now I know that you will just explain I have got children, you don't have children. But
Right.
what we do have is we've got feeling, we've got understanding, and we've got understanding of people's behaviours.
Mhm.
Okay. Now we don't need to have children or not have children for that. What we need to have is an understanding of people and their uniquenesses, you know, so that they're not living the life of, based on just behavioural traits, scarring, emotions, trauma. They're not getting to gain energy through that kind of unique freedom. Um, so to start us off, I would like to just put a scenario into the works here, okay? And again, I've got my glasses, so if they want to poke me in the eye, it is all right. I'm protected. So, so with the way the situations are, and what I've found with a lot of parenting is that I will say 90+% of parents are not happy in their own life anyway, right? I will use that amount of words, that amount of percentage to allow people to really feel. Okay, the reason that I will put this figure out there is because that they don't understand their own uniqueness. So they don't understand fully how to gain energy by just being themselves. Okay? The energy gains come from either activities, through partnerships, through relationships with their family, through sports, drugs, alcohol, these type of things. So it's a bit of a pick and mix where people like to pick and mix thing in their life. I feel good when I do this, 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 and this. And what happens is, as a collective, it keeps me feeling all right. I tick over and it's good. Not many people are on that level where they produce the serotonin to allow them to just be and just flow and just be happy and just allow themselves to be themselves in that state, regardless of how much love they're being given or taken from, regardless of how many sports they have or how much alcohol or drugs they have or people in their life. So when it comes to parenting, there's no rule book. Okay, we all know that there's no rule book to parenting. Everybody does their best with what they have. Now, I grew up, my mum spent most of her years on her own. She was mother of 5 boys, and that was exciting, right? That was definitely, that's a story for another night. But there's things that people do and don't do from their own nature, what was missed out on their life, and then they pass it on and they pass it on and they pass it on. And this is where I came up with the term codependent parenting, where the parents actually rely on their children for support. Now, that might sound a bit shocking to some. It might put tension on others because they know it's true and they're not able to kind of touch on it because they don't want to admit it. So if you're at home and you're a parent, regardless of gender, child regardless of gender, and you're feeling not happy in your life, you're lonely, you've not got many friends, you've not got much to hold on to and call your own in terms of yourself, so you live your life through your child, which means that you spend extra time with your child. You take your child to more amounts of maybe days out, more than average amounts of time, because that's where you focus, because then you make yourself as your uniqueness is, I'm a parent. Okay, so what they do is they call themselves, I am a parent, this is my uniqueness, this is my purpose on earth, and there's nothing else that I can do. And it becomes, the child becomes their best friend. So before you know it, you have got a young child going all the way through their childhood, spending their time in their parents' bed for cuddles at night time, but maybe they don't have a partner, or maybe they're in between the partner because they don't know themselves in a relationship either. So what they do is, again, they get this to hold on to, so it nurtures the parent all the way through. Now, so far, does it sound healthy to you? It doesn't sound healthy to me, and it's not because I want to put people down, it's because I want them to realise that this life that they're nurturing, what they're actually doing is they're not giving the child a choice to be unique, to have freedom of their self, to be, do I want to be smothered, do I not? They're not allowing this to happen. So it becomes very, very difficult for the child to be able to express themselves. Now, it also means that there's an element of control all the way through this relationship, where the parents then start to see the child trying to grow. And as the child tries to grow, it might not be in the way that they want to. They might not want as many cuddles. They might not want to sing. They might not want to dance as much because they're veering off to a different way. They might want to do sports, which is less time at home doing cuddles. And then the parents will then try and stop them from doing these things because it doesn't fit in with their criteria. Then what happens is that it gets to a certain stage in a child's life where the child doesn't actually realise that they're being stifled. Okay, now that's again a very strong word. Glasses, protection, fine. The word stifled for me is a very strong word to use, but it's also enough to allow people to wake up and ask themselves, are they stifling their child? Because if they ask themselves that question, they don't need blamed or the finger pointed at them to say you're doing wrong. So I wouldn't do that to somebody. I would love for people watching this video to realize that sometimes that even though you brought this child into the earth or you're guardian for that child's got a soul of its own, a mind of its own, and it's also got a uniqueness of its own. Now, I know that I'm nearly 38 years old, and my mother was a great mum. She did the best she could with absolutely everything, and I can't fault her for that. But if I was to ask my mum what my uniqueness is, she couldn't tell me. Okay. Now, the reason she can't tell me is because she wasn't taught what hers was, and that this was a very, very important part of our life as we're adults, but also as our upbringing, you know, and allowing that kind of fairness to come in and speaking to us the way that we want to be spoken to, rather than the way that the parent believes that a child should be taught and spoken to. Because it's very, very difficult for parents to, as I say, get it right. But the way that I believe is that if you're doing it all for the child, you can't really go wrong, you know? And that's not with the personal hidden agenda behind it, the codependent parenting. Now, what I've also found in my studies over working with clients, conversations, reading articles, doing the proper science and the proper study that we're meant to be doing is the way that the parents, and a lot of parents, complain to their children and bring them into adult conversations. Now, people probably think it's all right to tell a 7-year-old, male or female, whether your husband or wife or partner or whatever has been cheating or showing signs of kind of violence or abuse through verbal or kind of mental kind of violence, okay? And it's almost desensitizing children to this while they're becoming older. So they think it's normal because they're not being spoken to as their uniqueness. So this sponge mind, sponge soul, sponge brain, sponge body that they have are just soaking all this in, soaking all this in. So then what happens is they'll end up coming into relationships, or they'll end up being 12 years of age and understanding about, cheating and about, yeah, they did this and they went with them, and they don't understand monogamy anymore, do they? Because they're not taught it. They're taught about the drama, and they're taught about, so they're not all children are getting the best start. Okay. And again, it's down to people as parents, it's down to people that understand the way the mind and brain works, on how to allow children to be unique. Now, this is where I want to fire it over to you because I've been on long enough. Um, in terms of parents with their children, without even having to go through kind of testing or diagnostics to be able to find out, what would you say as a human, as an adult human being, coming into contact with a younger human being, because that's all we are, right? If we take away the kind of older and younger aspects of it, how would you really ask them to be able to try and find out their uniqueness or what gives them energy?
Well, I mean, that's where I think you and John have talked a lot about the taking the ice cream test and figuring out their intangible drivers. So at FlowCess, that's what we call discovering the person's mind or their soul. Mind slash soul. Who they are these intangible drivers, and they're, like you were saying, that the parent and the child are unique. They have a different set of intangible drivers. They have a different set of a picture perspective. So the way that they, see the world, do they see things as connected, or do they see things, like as individual facts? And then their processing style, are they internal, are they external? So right there's three immediate metrics that we try to find out about someone's uniqueness. So that's what we do. I mean, if I'm trying to get to know a kid, or really anyone, I treat them all the same way. I will, if I'm going to do it directly, then I would say, hey, can I give you this test Can I get to know you? There's no right or wrong answer, but I'd love to ask you, the scenario. And you and John have talked about that, right? You've talked about the ice cream test, right? So
Yep.
I've given that test from, top business executives all the way down to, 4-year-olds. How would you handle if you went to an ice cream store and someone dropped their ice cream on the ground?
Yep.
And that's what we try to do, because really I believe that there's no age to your soul. You know what I mean? Like, there is no age in who you are. So I like to discover who someone is, like, all as young as I possibly can, or as old as someone is, and discover that, because that's uniquely how they want to be talked to, and uniquely how how I can love them and how they want to love other people. So, you were talking about being a parent and this codependent parenting, and it's really interesting because what I see is this all is about being happy. So why did that person, why did that couple want to have children? They wanted to have children to be happy. That's why they did it. Now, do you know if most parents that have children, when they have those children, are they more happy or are they less happy when they have that child? What is your
Um,
experience?
my experience is that in terms of what they believe that the how can I believe the expectation is not usually met in terms of levels of happiness. Your love grows because you can show more love towards a new human being, but in terms of your internal happiness, a child cannot make us happy. It's impossible. Nothing from the outside can make us happy. And this is why I try and explain the best I can to people. Like, it's like, oh, great. And, a failing relationship will have a baby, it will make us happy. I'm failing myself. Well, I'll have a baby, it will make me happy. It doesn't come across the way that you want it to. You end up with less money, more stress. Yes, more love to give in terms of you're able to show more tangible love, but it doesn't give you more for yourself. And again, it's got to come from you again to be able to express back out.
Right. And the thing is that, these parents, these people have children in order to be happy, and the child does not make them happy, right? Like, they do have a way to love that child, and yeah, but I don't hear a lot of parents ecstatic about the child that they have. Usually I hear how frustrated they are with their children. And so when I hear you talk about codependent parenting, is what I hear is that as a parent's response to a plan for happiness. Is that kid was supposed to bring me happiness and it didn't. So now I'm going to exert more energy and more time into this child, because this is my plan for happiness. And what they do is they take what they think would make them happy if they were a kid, and deny the uniqueness of that kid, and just do what they think would have made them happy, and they just kind of start treating their child that way. But really what I see is children are a possession. Children are something that you have. You have children. Now, do if we were to just like back up for a second. I'm not wearing any glasses, so people poke my eyes out. But anyway, but people have children. They are a possession. They are something that a couple makes together. And we know, I think, as our world by now knows or ought to know, that having stuff or having things doesn't make people happy. Now, one of the ultimate things that people can have is children. But I think a lot of people experience postpartum depression. A lot of people have that because that plan doesn't work. They were thinking, I was going to be happy if I had that child, but it didn't work. So now what? Now I have this, my plan for happiness is walking in front of me. And now I have to take care of something that didn't make me happy. I have to invest all of this time and all of this effort into this thing that made me happy. And that's where you get parents that really resent their kids. Or they flip on the other side and they say, my sole purpose in life is to be this parent, when actually parenting is as a job. That's kind of that's something that you do,
Yep. Yep.
but it's still not who the person is. So that's why it's like, you know, there's three steps that we can see people, and our value is, am I putting my value in who I am and what I have? Like like children? Am I putting my value in what it is that I do, my profession? Or am I discovering my value in who I am and what my uniqueness is? And that's where it's like it's not going to work for a parent to be happy having children. The simple fact of having children isn't going to work unless they're going to operate with that unique child based upon their uniqueness and help that child discover their uniqueness. Then parenting can be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I wish for people to understand is it's their uniqueness first. It doesn't matter how they were or weren't brought up. It doesn't matter what's happened in our past. What does to a degree, right? But it doesn't stop us from moving forward unless we're holding on to the scars, the wounds, the emotional trauma, these type of things. So the way that people understand that they can be the best version of their self for their children, for their family, for their friends, for their work colleagues, anything, once they know their own unique self. Once you're able to do that, and once you're able to then determine the uniqueness of the child or the children that you're looking after, it's not a one size fits all. Like all of you brush your teeth at this time, do as you're told, and get to your bed at this time, and you do this at this time, because some of them might not like to be spoken to like that. and, it,
Right?
and a lot of kind of the generation older than you and I were told this is what's happening and that's it. There's no, and then things get softer with us, and our generations get softer, and then the next generation is going to be almost like you tell me how you would like me to parent you and what I should be doing for a living, and it's almost going too far the other way, where there's not going to be any guidance at all, and this is what I'm worried about. So from the kind of place for that just now, from the codependent parenting, it's almost like that could literally morph through into this part where there's almost no guidance at all, where everyone's just going about aimlessly, still not understanding their own uniqueness, but then they've got no guidance or no one to look up to after that, which can become particularly difficult. So, like, I don't want people to think that this is something that we are trying to kind of push onto them as an agenda, because we want everyone to be happy. We want everyone to understand themselves. But in terms of doing that, a personality, as John and I have spoken about, a personality, if I give you £1 million, you're just going to be Jonathan that's just been given £1 million, up
Right.
kicking his heels and doing cartwheels. If I was to come and take that £1 million back off of you, you're going to be Jonathan that's just lost £1 million. I don't see much heel kicking or many cartwheels, you see. So our personality and who we think we are, and the labels that we put on ourselves as parent, as partner, as as work colleagues, as all these things. It's not who we are, and people need to understand that. So while people are out thinking that parent is their unique self, they would probably be better. And I will put a link onto this video as well, um, about there, so that they can test their own uniqueness and they can come back and they can revert back to the place where we've got all our videos, and they can come back and they can check for themselves, or they can reach out and we'll do it. It starts with you, the parent. It starts with you understanding yourself to the point where you're able to gain energy from just being you.
Mhm.
No airs graces, no gimmicks, no gadgets, no nothing. Just being you and understanding that is enough to give you energy, believe it or not. And then understanding your child. Now, some of the questions are quite difficult for children, so they will need to maybe reword them for the kids sometimes, like, um, because we go through it and it does sometimes become confusing. It's good to have them read to them. So if you read them to your child and you understand what they would like to say, they don't always need to understand because energy doesn't lie. So if they've just got a feeling that's the one they want, let them do it because that's their uniqueness coming out, and let them do it. Find out their uniqueness. Watch the videos on your child. Maybe even if they're old enough, if they're 7, 8, 9, 10, allow them to see the video on you, how their parent wants to be spoken to. Maybe they don't want to be demanded. Again, if they were a compassion server and you've got a demanding child, you're not going to feel that compassion the same towards them because that's them telling you, I want this now.
Mhm.
So you're not going to have the feel, I would like oh, of course I'll get that for you. I want right now. No, you're not going to have one of those because you didn't ask for it properly. And again, this is where it comes in. So it's not even down to courtesy, it's down to understanding as far as I'm concerned. Courtesy is please and thank you. Anything under that is down to either not understanding or laziness, where you're able to understand and you haven't. Now, again, that's probably a bit rough, but again, we've all got the tools now available to us through 25 years of science that we're able to find out exactly what our uniqueness is and what our children's are as well. And we don't need to be codependent. We can literally give these children the life that they want, that they deserve, that allow them to grow into themselves, which will also, if we're doing it while we're gaining energy, it's going to give us a lot more fulfillment in life. Will that make us happy? Yes, it will, because we're living ours, they're living theirs, and then there's not any chores anymore because we're all conversing the way that we want to be. So, just to close us off, Jonathan, how would you determine, um, if you can imagine, if you want to talk about, if someone said to you about codependent parenting, okay, would you definitely say it came from the lack of happiness? Is that what you would want? And people need to go
A-
and speak to
Yeah,
themselves.
absolutely. And what I would say is it's a lack of happiness, and it's people trying, like when you described it as people really putting um their unique plan or what they think would make them happy onto their kids, and then doing that, which is not being unique. And it sounds like to dissolve this, the way to dissolve codependent parenting is for the parent to realize they are unique and their child is unique. And for the parent to help the child, in order for the parent to help the child to grow in their uniqueness, the parent needs to first be doing that. The parent needs to be the example of what it means to grow in their uniqueness in order to help their child do that same thing. So there's going to be, and I think that any parent can I think take a step back and realize, what really pissed me off when I was growing up was my parents treated me in a way that I didn't want to be treated. They thought that they knew me. They thought because they spent all this time with me that they knew what was good for me or how to speak to me, but they didn't. So I'm not going to do that same thing to my kid, and I'm going to learn how I want to be spoken to, what I want to do, and basically understanding and discovering their intangible drivers do the same, because yeah, the parent and the child are unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I love that. And I hope anyone that wants to reach out to Jonathan Priest on LinkedIn, they're more than welcome. If they want to reach out to myself, they want to reach out to John Lenhart. We're all here to help you or to help guide you. You know, we can help with this. We can make you the best version of you to be the best parent that you want to be without having to get involved in your life or know your story. We can literally just allow you to gain energy by being you. So thank you, Jonathan. Thank you so much for today. And I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.